All right, let's talk about Fulgent Genetics, ticker FLGT. This company is a really fascinating one. And for a simple reason, depending on how you read the numbers, you get two completely different stories. So if you're an investor trying to figure this out, the big question is pretty obvious. Which story do you believe?
So, are we looking at a classic post-pandemic bust here? A company that had its moment in the sun and is now just fading away? Or is this something more, a hidden gem, a really valuable business buried underneath all that noise? Okay, let's dig in and try to sort this out.
First up, let's tackle the story that, honestly, everyone sees. It's the one that's kind of screaming danger right from the headlines. I'm talking about the COVID hangover. And let me tell you, the numbers on the surface, they look pretty rough.
Just look at this drop. It's stark. During the pandemic, COVID testing was a gold mine, right? It sent their revenue rocketing up to almost $1 billion in 2021. $1 billion! But then, poof, the demand vanished and total revenue just plummeted, all the way down to $283 million. That is a staggering drop, over 70% from its peak. If you're just looking at this, yeah, it's a massive red flag.
And when your revenue falls off a cliff like that, you know exactly what happens next, right? It hits the bottom line hard. Fulgent went from making over $500 million in profit in 2021 to losing almost $43 million. Think about that switch, from huge profits to a significant loss. This right here is the story that has a lot of investors spooked. But, and this is a big but, it's not the whole story.
Okay, so now let's pivot. Let's look at the second narrative because it paints a totally different picture. To really get a handle on Fulgent's potential, you have to do something crucial. You have to look past that temporary COVID boom and zoom in on what this company actually does, what it was built for in the first place. So, to unlock this hidden story, there's one key idea you have to wrap your head around, and that's core revenue. Just think of it as the company's real business, the stuff they were doing before the pandemic and plan to do long after. We're talking about their genetic testing for things like rare diseases, cancer diagnostics, prenatal screening, all that important stuff. Basically, we're just going to take all that temporary COVID money, push it to the side, and see how the actual business is doing. And right there, you have it. Two competing stories. On one hand, you've got the headline story. A company that looks like it's in a total freefall, crushed by the collapse of its pandemic sales. But then, there's the hidden story. And it asks a really intriguing question. What if the real business, the core genomics part, was actually growing strong this whole time?
And here's the big reveal. This chart tells a completely different tale. While the total revenue was tanking, Fulgent's core revenue, its real business, was quietly and consistently growing. In fact, it just grew 16% year over year. This isn't just a business that's holding steady. This suggests the primary long-term business is actually expanding. Now that changes things, doesn't it?
Okay, so this is where we start to build the bull case for Fulgent. We know the core business is growing. So the next question is, what else do they have going for them? What's going to power their future? Well, as it turns out, that whole COVID craziness, it left behind a pretty incredible parting gift. Just look at that number. Nearly $780 million. That's how much cash and marketable securities Fulgent is sitting on. That's not just a healthy balance sheet, that is a massive war chest. It gives them the firepower to do whatever they want. Fund R&D, pushing to new markets, maybe even buy another company. And it lets them easily ride out their current losses. You can't overstate it. This cash is a huge strategic advantage. And it's not just about the cash either. They've got some serious tech, a proprietary platform that makes their genetic testing super efficient. Plus, they just got what's called a CE mark, which is basically their golden ticket to expand into the huge European market. And if that's not enough, they're even branching out into developing drugs with a division called Fulgent Pharma. You add all that up, and it's no wonder management feels confident enough to actually raise their guidance for core revenue for the year.
But of course, it's not all sunshine and roses. To make a smart investment, you've got to look at the other side of the coin, right? And the genomic space is, well, it's a battlefield. It's incredibly competitive, and Fulgent is definitely facing some very real risks we need to talk about.
So who are they up against? Well, you've got the old guard, like Myriad Genetics. They're a giant in cancer diagnostics. You've got Centogene, a direct competitor breathing down their neck in Europe. And then there's Invitae,
Oh man, Invitae is such an important cautionary tale for this whole industry. They went for aggressive growth at all costs, and it led straight to bankruptcy. It's a reminder of what can go wrong. So the bear case is pretty straightforward. First, yeah, that growing core revenue is great, but let's be real, it is nowhere close to replacing that massive COVID revenue. Second, the company is losing money, plain and simple, which is why you see that negative PE ratio. Third, you've always got to worry about regulators and insurance companies changing the rules. And finally, the big money, the institutional investors, they're totally split. Some are buying in, but others are selling out. That tells you there's a lot of uncertainty here.
So we circle right back to where we began. You're standing at a crossroads with two very different and honestly very compelling stories about the same company. The choice for any investor really just boils down to one thing. Which of these stories do you believe is going to win out in the end?
Let's lay it out side by side. The bull case, it's a bet on the future. You're betting on that growing core business, that mountain of cash, and their unique tech. The bear case, that's a warning about the present. It's about the fact they're losing money right now, the intense competition, and that long, dark shadow cast by the collapse of their COVID revenue. So when you strip everything else away, it really all comes down to this one question. Is Fulgent's core business strong enough to power a real comeback? Can that steady, promising growth become a tidal wave, strong enough to wipe out the losses, fend off the competition, and finally make everyone forget about the pandemic boom and bust? That right there is the billion-dollar question you have to answer for yourself. We hope this explainer helped you get a much clearer picture of Fulgent Genetics. If you found this helpful, please subscribe.